Prince Arthur, Duke of Connaught and Strathearn. Prince Arthur was born on the 1st of May 1850. He was the 7th child and 3rd son of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. The prince was baptised by the Archbishop of Canterbury, John Bird Sumner, on the 22nd of June in the palace's private chapel. At his ceremony he was awarded his godparents, who were chosen as Prince William of Prussia, who would go on to become the King of Prussia and German Emperor Wilhelm I. Please continue to support my channel by subscribing. His godmother was Princess Bernhard of Saxe-Weimar-Eisenach, who was his great-uncle's sister-in-law. His third godparent was the Duke of Wellington. This was the man that he was named after, as well as sharing a birthday with. All of the children of Victoria and Albert were under a strict education system, made up of a private tutor and rigorous schedules. Arthur was reported to have been one of the Queen's favourite children. Arthur's interests were elsewhere from his studies. He was always interested in the army and showed a keen interest in joining, so it came as no surprise that in 1866 he joined the Royal Military College at Woolwich. He was ambitious and he graduated only 2 short years later, where he was commissioned as a lieutenant in the Corps of Royal Engineers on the 18th of June 1868. A few short months later, he transferred to the Royal Regiment of Artillery on the 2nd of November 1868, before going on to join the Rifle Brigade the following year in August of 1869. This was nostalgically his father's own regiment, and after this he went on to pursue a long and successful career serving as an army officer. His travels took him all over the world, and he travelled from South Africa, Canada in 1869, Ireland, Egypt in 1882, and to India from 1886 to 1890. While in Canada, he began training in order to defend the Dominion from the Fenian raids. As a royal member, some people were concerned for his safety, but Arthur was determined to put duty first, regardless, and therefore he put himself in harm's way, and on the 25th of May 1870, he was engaged in fending off the Fenian invaders during the Battle of Eccles Hill, for which he received the Fenian Medal. During his time in Canada, he was entertained by those highest in society, and he was invited to attend many grand balls and garden parties. Among the prestigious events, he was also invited to the opening of Parliament in Ottawa. He was the first ever royal to do this. His adventures were well documented and sent back to his mother, the Queen, to view. As well as being part of many social events, Prince Arthur was also into the Six Nations, and he met with the chiefs of 6 nations of the Grand River of Mohawk Chapel in 1869. On the 1st of October 1869, he was given the title Chief of the 6 Nations in Ontario, allowing him to sit in the tribe's councils and vote on matters of tribe governance. Arthur became the 51st chief on the council, despite there being a rule that only 50 can be on the council. On his mother's birthday in 1874, Arthur was made into a royal peer, being titled as the Duke of Connaught and Strathearn and Earl of Sussex. A few years later, Arthur came into the direct line of succession to the Duchy of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha in Germany when his nephew died in 1899. He decided, however, to renounce his own and his son's succession rights to the duchy, which then passed to his other nephew, Prince Charles Edward, the posthumous son of Prince Leopold, Duke of Albany. In 1878, Arthur went to visit his elder sister Victoria in Germany, and this is where he would meet his future wife, Louise Margaret of Prussia. Although Arthur was bedazzled by this woman, when he reported back to his mother of his interest in her, she was far from bemused. She did not want a scandal on her hands, and the princess's parents were involved in an unhappy and unpleasant marriage, and they lived apart. Not only this, she did not deem her good enough for her son, as she was very plain-looking with bad teeth. Victoria reported her dismay in her diary entries. "Dear Arthur arrived and stopped with us while we were taking tea. Afterward remained talking with me a little while, and told me that he had taken a great liking to young Louise of Prussia, Fritz Karl's youngest daughter, who was brought up by an English governess. He said he did not wish to marry yet, and no one had breathed a word about it, but he liked her better and better, and meant, if I had no objection, to ask to see her this summer again. I could not help saying that I disliked the Prussians, and told him he should see others first, but he said it would make no difference." She then went on to explain how his happiness was important to her, and how sad that he looked that he would not go ahead with anything without her consent. Queen Victoria therefore gave her consent, and the decision was supported by Arthur's elder sister, who was overjoyed with her brother's choice. When Queen Victoria met with Princess Louise, it is reported that she began to feel excited by the pairing, and it was not long before an engagement was announced. Victoria described Louise as being a dear, sweet girl of charming character, and she clearly trusted her son's choice in a wife. The couple were married at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle on the 13th of March 1879. This was also the place that 4 more of Queen Victoria's children would marry, and is now a popular place for royals to wed. The couple went on to have 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. Their first was born in January of 1882, and she was called Princess Margaret Victoria Charlotte Augusta Nora. This was followed the following January in 1883 with a son called Prince Arthur Frederick Patrick Albert, before finally having their last child called Princess Victoria Patricia Helena Elizabeth, born 3 years later in the March of 1886. His family and children grew up in the Connaught's country home, Bagshot Park in Surrey, and after 1900 at Clarence House, the Connaught's London residence. Through his children's marriages, Arthur became the father-in-law of the Crown Prince Gustaf Adolf of Sweden, Princess Alexandra, Duchess of Fife, and Sir Alexander Ramsay. Arthur's first 2 children predeceased him, Margaret while pregnant with his 6th grandchild. At 2 o'clock in the morning on the Saturday of the 1st of May 1920, on Arthur's 70th birthday, Crown Princess Margaret died suddenly in Stockholm of blood poisoning. Her immune system had taken a knock when she had only shortly before suffered from measles, which then aggravated her ear. She had surgery to eliminate a mastoid, and the medical world was still a far cry away from the levels of cleanliness now, and she began to suffer from pain in her face and below her eye. The doctors performed another procedure, which only aggravated her symptoms and caused a skin infection under her right ear. It took only hours for the disease to take her life, and tragically she was 8 months pregnant with her 6th child. Prince Arthur died on the 16th of January 1942 at Bagshot Park. He was 91 years old. This was the same age that his sister Princess Louise, Duchess of Argyll, died at. She passed away 2 years and 1 month before. A funeral service for the Duke was held at St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle, on the 23rd of January, after which his body was placed temporarily in the royal vault beneath St. George's Chapel in Windsor. He was then reburied on the 19th of March 1942 in the Royal Burial Ground, Frogmore. He was Queen Victoria's last surviving son. Please continue to support my channel by subscribing. Please comment, like and subscribe if you wish for more stories, and leave your suggestions below and I will endeavour to cover them.